In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up a brand new scene for the paintball multiplayer kit. So I've got an empty scene here, and I'm going to get started by just creating a little piece of environment. So I'll just go to Game Object, 3D, make a cube, and I'm going to reset this and just make it as a terrain or something. You could create your own, pull in something from an asset pack or something else, but I wanted to go very basic for this sample. So we need to, let's stretch this thing out a little bit. Maybe I'll go about 20 by 20. And I'll assign a material. Let's just pick something semi-randomly. We'll just go with the red cube. There we go. So we just have a big giant one. And yeah, that should be good. Now, we're going to need to delete the main camera because we're using the local player rig. So if you go under prefabs, you'll see local player, and you need to just pull this out into the scene. This already has a camera in it, so the other camera had to go. And then I'm going to position this guy, right about here. This is just where the player will be before they actually connect to a game. Now I need to pull out the UI, so I'm going to go into the prefabs UI folder and just take the network manager UI, drop it right about here, rotate it, pull it up into position. Now, for the player to interact with the UI, they need a laser pointer. There isn't one on here by default, but you can expand out, go to SteamVR Objects, pick the hand that you want a laser pointer to be in, and just add a laser pointer. And then you also need to add this VR UI input. This script handles doing input with the laser pointer and interacting with these buttons. So if I select one of these buttons, you'll see we have a VR UI item. And then the way it works is that other script checks for these VR UI items, and then when you pull the trigger, it calls the click event on there, which essentially runs the on click of the button. And you can also just click in here, so click the button right there, to simulate a laser pointer click, just so you can see what it looks like. So I could hit play and press click right now. It's not going to work because the controllers aren't all set up, so we're going to get some errors. But that's just a shortcut if you want to have more buttons and you want to be able to test them quickly. Alright, so let's collapse this down. Now what I need to do is import in all of the different controllers that are required for the game to work. So what I like to do is just go to Game Object, create empty, and then make something called controllers. That's very obvious and just kind of empty in there as a, essentially as a folder. So we'll reset it. And then under the controllers, first I'll drop in the decal controller. Again, this is for doing paintball splatters. If you switch to gun holes, this would be like bullet holes. The game settings, which lets you select how many players are needed and whether or not team kills are enabled. The game state controller, which handles just switching between the different game states from, waiting for players to playing. And next we need a paintball network manager. This does all of the networking work, so this is what's sending over the messages, keeping track of player locations, and keeping that all synced up. Then we have the respawn points controller. Let's drop that in here. And if you take a look, this one actually has some respawn points set up by default. What I'm going to do is just go through and delete all of them except for, I think I'm just going to leave in these two. So I'm going to set this up as if it were a two-player game with only 2 spawn points, and just get the spawn points into position. So if you look here, there's a mesh renderer that you can just turn on and off. This is just to make it very easy to tell where we're placing the thing. You could also add some custom gizmo stuff. So player 2 would start about there, and then player 1, let's pull him in, enable the mesh renderer so I can see where it's going to be. Maybe go up just a little and over there. And I'm going to pull up player 2 just a little bit. There we go. So these would be the start points for the game. Let's select both of those and turn the mesh renderer back off. Next we need the audio controller. If we don't have this in here, we're going to get some errors because other things are looking for audio controller. And then we just drop in the team controller. The team controller again just has a total team count and then does a little bit of networking work underneath. So I've got it set to 2 right now, which matches up with my number of spawn points. Alright, I think we are just about done. So let's save our scene. and press play. Now there's going to be one thing that doesn't work yet, which is teleportation, because I haven't imported teleportation. But first, let me just jump over here, grab my laser pointer, which is in this hand, hit host online.
2.
There we go, I've got a gun, and I can shoot. And again, we have it set right now to start with a single player. If you want to wait until the second player is in there, just go into controllers and then game settings and just turn this up to 2. Or change the game state waiting for players code to start however you want to start instead of based off of the number of players joining.